So in the last video, we talked about what it looks like in these first two graphs up here for positive and negative slope, graphing a line when the y-intercept has a value of 0, where there is no y-intercept. You'll notice the difference between the equations on the top and the equations on the bottom is that they just have a number with an x on the right in the first two. In the bottom two, they have a number with an x with something being added or subtracted to it. And so that's what we call the y-intercept, and it tells us where to start. And so with these on top, we started at 0, 0, because again, there was no y-intercept. Its value was 0. And so we started at the origin at 0, 0. Down here with this blue one, y equals 4x minus 6, that's going to tell us to start on the y-axis at negative 6. And so I'm just approximating what might negative 6 look like on this graph here for demonstration purposes. And so we would go down 6, and that would be our first point. And then from there, we would go up 4 and to the right 1, and then up 4 and to the right 1, and so on until we were able to create a line like that. And so the only thing that's changing here, the only thing that we're adding is a y-intercept that is not 0. It's telling us where on the y-axis to start constructing our line. Now with the green one, we have a slope of negative 8, and our y-intercept is positive 4, which means that we're going to be starting up here on the y-axis at positive 4. And then we would be going down 8 and to the right 1. And so that would make it look something like that. And we would have our green line graphed looking something like that. I like to think about these abstractly initially without a lot of numbers on the graph and stuff involved, because I want to give people an idea of what's happening. So again, with the blue line, the slope is positive. It's going up and to the right. It's going up as we go to the right, but it started at negative 6 on the y-axis. With the green equation, its slope is negative, so it's going down and to the right. And we started in a positive spot on the y-axis up at positive 4. Now moving to the graph on the right, we have 1/2 x plus 2. The plus 2 tells us that we would start at positive 2 on the y-axis, and then we would move up 1 and to the right 2, because our slope tells us to go up 1 and to the right 2. So we would end up with a line that looks something like that. Again, the slope is positive and the y-intercept was positive, so we started above the x-axis, and we're moving up as we move to the right. For the green one, we have a slope of negative 2/3, and we have a y-intercept of negative 6. So it would be down. It would start at negative 6 down here somewhere, and the slope would be going down and to the right as we go, because we would be going down 2 and to the right 3. So something like this is what our line would look like. And so again, you can just kind of picture these in your mind by the behavior of what's going on with the y-intercept, which is the number that's tacked onto the end there, and the slope, which is telling us how the line is behaving. And so the y-intercept tells us, are we starting above or below the x-axis? And then the slope tells us, are we moving up or down as we go to the right? And so looking at this equation that we have right here, there is nothing in front of the x, which means that that is a 1. And so this is really y equals 1 over 1 x minus 5. And so I'll go ahead and write that here. So I always think of slope as a ratio. And if you want to think of it as a fraction, you can think fraction. It's really a ratio comparing the change in y over the change in x. So y is equal to 1 over 1x minus 5. And so step 1 for us is to look at the y-intercept and see where we're starting. We are starting at negative 5. And then from there, we are moving, this is positive, so up 1 and to the right 1. Okay? And so we would end up with something that looks like that. This time we have y equals negative 3x minus 1. And I'm going to write that as negative 3 over 1x minus 1, because that should be written as a ratio, so we can see how much y is changing over how much x is changing. And again, this negative 1 here tells us where to start. So on the y-axis, we're going to start at negative 1. Then we're going to go down 3 to the right 1. Okay. Then we've got y equals 3x minus 8. So we can see that that's going to be 3 over 1 as a ratio x minus 8. And so that minus 8 tells us to start at negative 8. And then the 3 over 1 says go up 3 into the right 1. And so that's what that would look like. And then we will do one more. Negative 3x minus 2. So y equals negative 3 over 1x minus 2. Our y-intercept is negative 2. And so we're going to start here at negative 2. Our slope is negative 3 over 1, telling us to go down 3 and to the right 1 from that point. So down 1, 2, 3 to the right 1. And so there's our graph for that one.